What's up, guys? What's happening? You know who it is, djwoopig. Thanks so much for coming back to the channel. Today we've got some new exciting gear to show you right here. Now I know in my last gig log I kind of took these out of the box and showed them to you, but today we're going to do an in-depth review of the new Mackie DRM series. Now they sent me out a pair of the 315 boxes, which are a powered three-way cabinet, which you guys have seen on a previous video, and they also sent me out this single 18 subwoofer, which again you've seen, but we haven't really delved specifically into them, let you get a good sound sample and so on and so forth. So today that's really what we're going to do, and then in another video we're going to do a head-to-head comparison on how they stack up with similar speakers in the market. We're going to pit the 315 against an ETX 35P and the single 18 sub against one of my EKX subwoofers that I love so much. Now, starting off with the 315, it boasts a 35 hertz to 20 kilohertz frequency range. It's got a rotatable horn that's 90 by 60 degree, which is pretty cool. The rotatable horns means you're simply going to be able to tilt the speaker and still keep the directional pattern of the high end, so you can point it specifically to where you want it. A lot of the higher end speakers are doing this. JBL has a version that does this, as well as the ETX series and EKX series from Electro Voice. It also is claiming a 2300 watt peak power response. Now watts, if you talk to anybody that knows anything about speakers, watts don't necessarily mean that one speaker is better than the other. It just claims that 2300 watts is divided between the three components inside of the speaker, boasting a 137 dB peak reading. It's pretty loud. For the high end, it's got an 1.25 inch titanium compression driver, and then for the mids, it's got a 6.5 inch speaker, and of course, a 15 for the low end. So that's your three-way setup. Any other box would be a two-way, where you have a horn and a woofer, whether it be a 12 or a 15, which are the most common. This has got all three. It's got the 1.25 inch, the 6.5, and then the 15-inch woofer. The one thing that I do like about this box, as opposed to a competitor on the market such as a QSC 153, is it is a solid wood construction, but they've done a good job at keeping the weight to a minimum. You're going to be able to pick this box up. It's 68 pounds, so it's not that heavy. Even some of the single 15 and horn driver speakers that I have weigh more than this, so it's a really simple speaker to get up. You're going to be placing this speaker probably on a subwoofer stack or on a pole mount like I have back there, so you're going to be able to save your back but still have the good quality of a wooden enclosure. Now, stepping around to the back side of the speaker, it has two XLR balanced inputs. These are combo jacks, meaning that you're going to be able to use an XLR cable or a balanced 1/4 inch input. It also has a 3.5 millimeter insert, which is going to allow you to really be able to get music up and running very fast, whether it be at a corporate event or any type of event that you're going to use these speakers on. As long as you've got that 3.5 millimeter jack, you can have music up and going, within, I would say, 5 minutes, most definitely. It's got two direct outputs. Now, it's got two direct outputs and one mix output. A mix output is nice because anything that you change inside of the DSP on the speaker itself, instead of having to configure another speaker that you have in that model, it's going to take what you've mixed out and send it out that direct chain. That way you're getting exactly the same thing from both speakers. You're not having to walk back and forth or take pictures of one DSP setting. You can simply send that mix out to the next speaker, which would be great if you're using these in pairs. You can set one up, set the other one up, and then, you know, boom, you're already working. You know, you've got your pairs set where you need them. Of course, if you're working with a left and right scenario, you're always going to want to tweak one side versus the other. So I would say having that direct output works good when using them in pairs. Now, the 315 that I have is just one of many of the options that you can get in the new DRM series from Mackie. They have a 212, which is a powered 12, a 215, which is a powered 15, the 315, which I have, and then they also have the DRM 12A, which is an arrayable VRX or KLA style constant curvature array rig. So I'm pretty interested to see how these guys sound, especially in an arrayable configuration. They might be the new budget line array system for some of you guys that are getting started. And then, of course, on the low end side, they've got the single 18. I don't think that they've got any other options as far as subs go. Really, it's a single 18, and then the next step up, I assume, would be a dual 18. I'm not sure if that's something to be released later down the line, but we have one of the singles here to try out as well. Now, the one thing that I do find pretty interesting on this speaker in particular is the built-in DSP, or the menu settings on the back. It's a full color display, which I personally have never seen on an active loudspeaker prior to getting these. A lot of them are just the standard blue LCD displays, so when you're pushing your volume through it, the only thing you're getting is a level indicator. With a full color display, what it's going to allow you to do is see something very similar to a meter bridge on a console. Your greens, your yellows, and your reds. When you're really pushing the speaker itself, you're going to see that output on the actual speaker. So it's almost like a drive rack unit where you can kind of see how hard you're actually pushing your speakers. Otherwise, it's simply guesswork with a lot of the other DSPs. So what we're going to do now is get up close and personal with the DSP display on the Mackie DRM 315, and then we're going to do a sound check with various songs. That way you guys can get a kind of a feel for what you're getting. Now, I do want to say before we get into the sound check that there's a lot of different ways to interpret how good a speaker sounds. One way that is not a good way is listening to it on a YouTube channel. So I'm recording this on my Canon camera. It's going through an external microphone to listen to the speaker itself, and then it's getting processed via my editing software, processed again via YouTube, and then processed again once it comes out of your computer speakers. The best thing I'm going to say for you to do if you're interested in purchasing or listening to a set of these DRM speakers, simply go to your local store or production house and see if they've got something, you know, like the DRM in stock or something similar. Listening to them always is the best bet when purchasing a speaker, especially something, you know, that's going to cost you upwards of $1,000. You really want to kind of listen to it in person first before you make a decision. Let's take a look at the speaker. Now, taking a look at the speaker, like I said, it's a great wooden cabinet. It's got a full mesh metal grill. Just looking at it right off the top, it does have 3 fly points where you can put your eye bolts or your fly plate on top of this and, you know, safely hang it or fly it above a crowd, or just to get the speaker up over people's heads, whether it be an install such as a place of worship or business or music venue, or to simply get this on a truss up in the air at your festival, prom, whatever. Having a flyable system that has built-in fly points, that way you don't have to re-engineer the wheel or, you know, fly through handles, which is a definite no-no. You want to, if you're going to fly, you want a speaker that has those fly points in there. That way, if something happens, you're covered. Like I said earlier, it's really not that heavy. 68 pounds, but it is a big speaker. It's a lot bigger than you know, just a single 15 or a single 12. This thing is pretty sizable. This is what you're going to use for bigger crowds, whether it be a big high school dance, a big corporate event, or an outdoor festival. Something like a 3-way cabinet is what you need. Now, looking at the speaker from the back end, it's really, you know, kind of simple. It does have an IAC port. That's one of the hang-ups that I'm getting to now. I really wish, you know, we're in 2019. 315, I really wish speaker manufacturers, especially on the prosumer level, something like this speaker here, would start integrating in a locking system for their power, whether it be a locking IEC or a PowerCon or even a True One. You'll find that a lot of people in the professional realm would much rather have something that's secure and can't simply be unplugged, but at a budget level speaker or a prosumer level speaker, it's not uncommon for the IEC connection to still be there. And like I was saying beforehand, you've got your two inputs that are combo jacks. You've also got two direct outs and a mix out if you are hooking up other DRM series speakers to it with that 3.5 millimeter inputs. Now you do have your gains, so these do have mic pre's in them, so it's line or mic level. If you go past unity here, that's when you get into the mic side. Once you drop down below, that's when you're in the line side. So if you're plugging in, let's say an iPod or something directly to it, it's always a good idea to turn it all the way down, plug in your signal, turn up your input level, and then turn the speaker up itself. You can't really go wrong with that. All three of them have a nice click in the middle, and there is no pushing or anything like that. It's simply up or down on the gain knob. Pretty simple. Just, it's pretty standard stuff, just like any other speaker. They're not reinventing the wheel here, but this color display is what I want to dive into next. Just to give you guys a basic rundown of the DSP on the back. If you look to the right hand side, you'll see our I guess it's the input control right here. 1, 2, and 3, that is our inputs coming in. So channel 1, channel 2, and channel 3, 4 right there. So if you push in on the knob, you're going to get to the main screen. So you've got a couple different options here. You've got one main. If we click on that, it's going to take us right back to where we were. If we go to mode, we've got 3 different mode settings: live, club, and speech. And you can kind of see where the EQ curves are on some of this. For live, it's pretty much basically flat until you get to some of the low end. On club, it's got the low end bumped, the mid scooped, and the high end bumped just a little bit. And then on the speech, it's got the cutoff for the low end. It's got it low passed out pretty good, and then pretty flat until we get to the higher end spectrum on the control knob. For the sub, you've got a couple different options here. You can either turn it off, you can use a DRM sub, and I'm assuming since the single 18 is the only sub that they have in that category, that it's already got the pre-built determined crossover patterns for that single 18S sub. And then you've got a variable where you can go in and you can select your own crossover point. Generally, if when I'm going to run these without the DRM subwoofer, it's just a great idea to start crossing over around 80 hertz. That's generally the rule of thumb for crossover settings on a subwoofer. If we go back, we've got our EQ. So the one thing that's pretty cool about this is instead of having a simple 3-band EQ, we can really kind of dial in where we want to get it. So you've got 12 positive and 12 negative points on your EQ itself. So you've got your top low shelf, your mid parameter, and then your high shelf, and then you've also got these curves down here at the bottom. So these are the frequency ranges down there. If you got 100, you got 100 kilohertz, and then 10,000 K at the top. Right now it's just kind of set to flat. And then next up is our delay. The one thing that I wish some of the lower line of EV speakers that I have had is the delay. You don't get the delay until you move up into the ETX line. You can do it by millisecond, you can do it by feet. So however many feet or meters you are away from your subject, it's going to delay it by, right now we're at 41 milliseconds. That way your whole rig is time aligned, so you don't get any weird cancellation or problematic issues. And then on the configuration, I'm not sure what a lot of this stuff does. I'm assuming with the memory, you've got up to 6 settings where you can, you know, if you're in a certain hall more than once or all the time, you can go through there, and instead of having to go through and reset all of your parameters, you can simply do it from the menu. You've got a lock pin, so that's cool. If you lock it out, that's cool. You can lock it out to where it can't be changed. Oh, we don't want to do that. How do I back up? I'm not trying to do that. Oh well. So we're backing up. A channel 2 in, so you can have it low or high pass there. The backlight, you can have it on, off, or dim on or off. So whenever you walk away from the speaker, it's going to automatically dim, or you can have it set to where it's on bright all the time. Now, the front LED is a little odd. Most of them are blue, but the front LED on this one is, of course, the traditional Mackie green, which is just a nice little ode to Mackie. We've got a master reset, so we can go through there, reset it to our factory parameters, and we're going to click yes because that is what we're going to be doing. We want this thing as flat as can be for our sound check. Alright, time for the sub. And yes, I did change shirts. It's a new day, guys. I got busy. But this sub, it's not the most compact. So if you're looking for something that is going to be small and compact for a small, you know, wedding type celebration or whatever, this may be a little bit too big for you. It is 90 pounds. Very much in similar size to the EV ETX subwoofer or the JBL SRX single 18 sub. It is a little bit bigger than my EKX sub, but the specifications on it are similar. We'll just go that far. This sub frequency response is 30 to 120 hertz. It's got a 135 decibel output rating, and you know, a sub is a sub is a sub. Again, good wooden construction box, nice stamped grill on the front of it. It does have plastic handles on the side. The one thing that I really like about this sub as opposed to some of the others is it's actually got a K&M you know, M20 threaded pole mount. So if you know anything about K&M, Koenig and Meyer, they make some fantastic products, and it's really cool to see that displayed on this sub. I know that this, you know, if anything else, this pole mount on top is not going to let me down, which is pretty dope. So let's turn this dude around, and we'll get a look at the settings, and then we'll be able to do a sound check on the complete system. Alright, on the back we do have that IEC power connection. I really would once again like to see a locking IEC or maybe even a power con on the back of the newer speakers. That is kind of the industry standard for power these days, but that's okay. Standard power button, we've got 2 inputs, 2 direct outputs, and then 2 high pass outs. If you are going to another top on top, that high pass out is probably what you're looking for. Looking at it from a wider angle, you can see that the 4 holes on each corner indicate that you can attach a caster directly to this subwoofer and not have any problems, so it makes it a little bit easier to roll around. I will say for a subwoofer of this size, you're definitely going to want to install some casters just to make it easier on getting this thing in and out of, whether it's a trailer or the venue. It's going to make it much easier on yourself trying to lug this big thing around. Alright, so looking at our main menu, just like the other screen or the other speaker, we've got inputs 1 and 2 over here. We've got our main control there, all the way up is unity, and then we can go down -10. If you click in on it, you've got the main mode, that's where we just were. If you go to mode, you can do normal or inverted. That's going to change the polarity, I believe, on that to solve any cancellation issues you may have when using multiples. Crossover, you've got a DRM top, which we will use with the 315, and then you've got a variable top, which you can set the crossover point. More than likely, you're always going to go with that 80 hertz range. cardioid mode. A lot of you guys may wonder what cardioid mode is. It's a simple, it does some magic in there. I don't know the exact science behind it, but it flips the signal around. That way you can flip the subwoofer around and have no low-end response behind the sub. So if you're using a big setup and you want to keep all the bass off of the stage, cardioid mode is what you're going to want to be in. And then of course it's got the delay just like the DRM top does. And then we've got our configuration menu, very much similar to the configuration menu on the 315. Alright, I know what you're probably thinking, John, we can read the manual anywhere else. What do they sound like? So, just a quick heads up, how I'm doing this is I'm playing a track through my MacBook Pro going into my Behringer X32 console. The EQ is totally flat, coming in and going out, and then on the DRM 315 top I have it set to a DRM sub crossover, and then on the sub I have it set to a DRM top crossover. So essentially this is how it should come from the factory. I have both of them set at unity, so this is the combo that they want you guys to have. I do want to make note that right now the camera itself, the microphone, is 25 feet from the speaker itself, and I'm in an enclosed warehouse, so take that for what it is. With how loud you think these things can get, we'll show you the back side of them and show you kind of what the inputs look like as the speaker itself is working. But right now, let's get to a sound check. Alright, so you saw kind of what was happening there. We had plenty of headroom on the console, plenty of headroom on the sub, but the input on the main looked very good. The output was a little high. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the output of the top to kind of match the output of the sub. That way they're more lined up and even. In that test, the main was definitely outrunning the sub. We want the two to make a united combo and give you both of what you want at the same time, and not so much high end and so little low end. So I'm just going to turn the top down where the output isn't as high, and then we'll measure that dB, and then we'll boost the dB, or we'll boost the gain from the console itself, and see how much kind of decibel we can get out of this box without blowing my head off. We are in a small metal enclosed building, so even with the 80 to 92 degree reading that we were getting right here is super loud. So we're gonna adjust some things and then we'll go from there, okay? And that, my friends, is it. So, just a few observations. I will say that the speaker overall sounds and performs really well. Now, there is some tweaking that you have to do to kind of get it to where it's comfortable performing at a higher decibel range for an extended period of time. But I will say, once you kind of get it to where it's not going to blow itself apart, it does sound pretty good. There are some things that I would change in some EQ settings, or whether it be in the speaker or on my desk itself for this room. But in this test, I really kind of want to give you guys a flat line, you know, just to show you how the DRM series from Mackie performs here in the warehouse. And you know, things are gonna change, whether you're inside, outside, big room, small room, whether your room is acoustically treated. If you are in a proper room with good acoustic treatment, 75 decibels is going to sound like 100, because you don't have a lot of the overtones and responses coming out of that room that you would have in a place like a gym or a warehouse like I'm in today. So stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned for another episode on the DRM series. In the next episode, we're actually going to pit the DRM 315 and 18 combo against the EV-ETX 35P and EKX 18 combo. So speakers that are kind of priced the same, in the same market, we're going to put them head to head and see which one comes out on top. The results may surprise you. I'm not really sure. I haven't done the test yet, so be on the lookout for that here within the next week or so. And if I can get one of my buddies to loan me a QSC 153, we're also going to have that in the test as well. The three-way boxes on the market, which one sounds the best, which one performs the best for the money, and which one is a complete Done. That's it for this one, guys. I appreciate you guys sticking around. As always, if you've got any questions, go ahead and email them to me over at djwoopig@gmail.com. Also, be sure to follow all my social media links. There's lots of stuff that happens behind the scenes that I don't get to show on YouTube just because it's so busy. The best way to figure out what I'm doing day to day, maybe get some inspiration, is by following me on social media, Instagram in particular. So until next time, this has been DJ Woopig. Once again, thank you to Mackie for sending me out some awesome new speakers, and we'll see you later. Bye.